Hi there, it's me again. So a friend of mine suggested that I talk about all the medications I've been on and how they were. I think that's probably a good idea. I've been on a lot. I know when I would go on a new medication, I do a lot of research. I try to talk to people who have also been on them. It might seem a little bit silly because everyone has different side effects, and I'm way more prone to side effects. My body loves getting pretty much the weird bad ones, but sometimes just normal ones as well. So I will start with Tecfidera. I'm not on it anymore. It's a drug that's used for multiple sclerosis. It's also used for psoriasis. I was on it for probably 8 months before I was taken off of it. I wasn't taken off of it for anything it did. It was part of the weird drug reaction that I'll get into later. I got taken off every medication I was on. So the first month of Tecfidera, probably about a month, was kind of hell. I had a lot of digestive issues from it. The really good thing is my MS nurse told me before taking a dose, about a half an hour before, to take a full aspirin, and it would help with the flushing. So I never got flushing from it. Like twice when I forgot to take the aspirin. So that was really good. I know a lot of people get a lot of flushing from it. And she suggested regular aspirin because baby aspirin doesn't work for everyone. Sorry, it's not a strong enough dose. So that was really good. Side effect is, for me, I kind of forgot that taking, I think it was about 500 milligrams of aspirin twice a day kind of acts as a blood thinner. Not kind of, it does. So I had some drinks one night, and I'm pretty sure I got either alcohol poisoning or really close to it. I've never really had a hangover before. I get tired, but no headaches, nausea, throwing up. That never happened. And then probably a month or two into being on Tecfidera, I'm going to mute that because that's loud. About a month into being on Tecfidera, so I took a bunch of aspirin, had been taking aspirin for about a month, drank alcohol. I thought I was going to die the next day. Throwing up constantly, super dizzy, a really bad headache. It wasn't until a couple of days later that I realized that it was probably more the aspirin than the alcohol itself, because I had consumed more alcohol before and been fine. So be really careful if you're doing the aspirin. Just don't drink. It's way easier just to not drink. So the nausea lasted probably about 2 to 3 months, and I just stopped. Not nausea, digestive issues. Lasted about 2 to 3 months, and then it just stopped. And I was fine. I didn't have to take aspirin anymore. Didn't have digestive issues anymore, and I was on it for probably about 7 months after, without any issues. So yeah, I like Tecfidera. I know a lot of people have some issues with it. I think if you can get through the first 3 months, it's really good. I did have one relapse while on it, but I hadn't been on it really long enough for it to do anything. You're supposed to be on it for at least 3 months before you start to notice a difference, and I hadn't been on it for 3 months. So brings me to the next medication. So I had a severe reaction, usually when I get neuralgia issues. So I have a history of trigeminal neuralgia. I would go on gabapentin. I think the longest I've ever been on gabapentin is about 3 months, and it's fairly high doses. It's 300 3 times a day, and then a dose of 900 at bedtime, so 4 doses per day. Gabapentin I was fine on. I took it, probably 7 or 8 different sets, because trigeminal neuralgia is my main kind of relapse. So the gabapentin didn't work for this. I had a really horrible relapse. It caused a ton of neuralgia in my hands. I still have, I'm pretty sure, nerve damage because I have no feelings in the tips of my fingers. close my eyes and touch something, I can't tell you what it is. It makes trying to go through my purse in the dark really difficult. Yeah, so gabapentin was good. Didn't work for this pain, so they put me on carbamazepine. So Tegretol, it's an anti-seizure medication. Gabapentin's an anti-seizure medication. They're both used for neuralgia pain as well. Yeah, sorry. So I've been on it maybe about 6 to 8 weeks at this point. It worked okay for the pain. It kind of took the edge off. It didn't get rid of the neuralgia altogether. I ended up having severe drug reaction to it. So I was throwing up constantly, couldn't figure out what it was. They ended up admitting me to the hospital, pumped me full of a ton of anti-nauseants that they give to chemo patients. That did absolutely nothing for me. So Gravol, Zofran, I can't remember the other one, but they didn't help at all. They did nothing. And then I broke out in a full body rash, horrible full body rash, and my face and neck and kind of chest and back were covered in pustules. And that kind of was the signal that got my doctors to realize that I had DRESS syndrome. It's a really rare medical reaction. It's not as rare as I think people think. I'm on a DRESS syndrome support group, I guess, on Facebook, and there's quite a few people on it, but I guess like a couple hundred is pretty rare if you think of how many people there are in the world. Yeah, so I ended up, at that point, they took me off all of my medication because they didn't know what was going on. Then they realized my timeline for carbamazepine fit in with DRESS syndrome. They thought I'd been on it a lot longer than I had. Yeah, so that brings me to all the other medications that I've been on since then because of trying to deal with this DRESS syndrome thing. So prednisone. I understand why it's called the devil's tic tac. I love it. It saved my life. I'm alive because of it. It is friggin' torture. So I was on Solu-Medrol, which is IV, every, I think, 4 hours. While I was in the hospital, they discharged me on 100 milligrams. I flared up again. Go back on Solu-Medrol for 3 days, or 1 gram per day. Put me on 120 milligrams of prednisone, and I was on that for probably 2.5 months before I was able to start tapering down to 100, and then 80, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20. I dropped down to 5 3 times. Every time I dropped down to 5, my liver enzymes shot way up. So DRESS syndrome caused my ALT, which is liver enzyme, to be 15,000, which is extremely high. I'm right now, it's 132, and nobody's happy with it, especially new doctors. So it's kind of an interesting reaction because they're like, oh, like your ALT is 135, 30, 80. It goes up to 180. And they're like, that's really bad. And then I'm like, it used to be 15,000. So I have a little bit of a different perception. I did have normal liver enzymes for about a month when I was on 10 milligrams. Tried to drop me down to 5, went back up. I just went back up to 10, so it's the 3rd time it's failed, trying to taper off. But this was a little bit for a different reason. So prednisone, severe rage. I've never understood blind rage and seeing red until I was on 120 milligrams of prednisone a day. And my poor partner, because I would scream and yell and throw things and then bawl. Part of it was probably the mood swings from the prednisone. Part of it is I'm not a screaming, yelling type person. And it's just, I think a lot of the time it scared me that I was doing that. So rage was probably the worst of all these like actual system things. But the rage and emotionalness is the one that wore me down mentally. So my partner several times found me on the bathroom floor uncontrollably sobbing, and he wasn't able to console me or anything. I was just, the first time he wanted to take me to the hospital, but I was so done with hospitals, I convinced him, once I could talk, I convinced him not to. It's happened, I think, 3 times since then, even like as low as 20 milligrams. They weren't as, I guess, hysterical, but they're still pretty bad. So yeah, mood swings, anger, chipmunk face, I mentioned in my last video. If I can figure out how to add a photo, I might add it to an upcoming video so you can just see like before and after how chipmunky my face was. So that, skin. My skin's super thin. It's gotten a little bit better. I'm a bit scared that now that I'm at 10, it's going to get worse again. It used to just split. So abdomen, especially if I like bumped something, it would like break open and bleed. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Those were probably the main ones. Hump. It's gone now for the most part, I think. But I had the buffalo hump, I think it's called. So when you're on prednisone, your fat distributes itself and you end up with a hump on your neck. I have this too that I still have a little bit. I got as a result of the prednisone too. I never used to have like a fat deposit there before. My back hump, buffalo hump thing is gone though, which is good. I think it disappeared when I went down to 10, so it hopefully won't come back now that I'm up to 10 again. Steroid-induced diabetes. That was the newest thing. So my blood sugar has always been great. I have perfect blood sugar. When I was on Tecfidera, I had everything checked every 3 months, never had any issues. And then Solumedrol, and then the prednisone caused steroid-induced diabetes. So I was on NPH as I got, it peaks. So it peaks like prednisone peaks. So it kind of helps lower that. Like I was having blood sugar as high as 30 for Americans, and I think most other countries that are not Canada. I'm not sure what the conversion for that is, but it's really high. You're supposed to be between 5 and 7 if you haven't eaten, and like 7 to 10 after eating. So when your blood sugar peaks, it's supposed to not go above 10. I was hitting 30. So that was not good. As I got down, I'm now on Levemir instead of NPH because I started having really bad lows. So I think the lowest was it was 2.1. I couldn't even walk. It was horrible. So I'm on Levemir now, which is kind of more just straight. So I still get a little bit of a peak from the prednisone, but it kind of helps keep it low. I'm also on NovaRapid, so when I eat, I take it, and sometimes I do like an extra little correction dose. If I've peaked too high without eating, I'll take a correction dose of a couple units. No side effects from them. I kind of am thankful, I guess, that I'm on insulin. I was not really too big into the injecting myself. That's a story, I guess, for another day, but yeah. Not quite sure what happened there. So I was never really big into the idea of injecting myself. I got used to it. I still don't particularly like it, but at least I don't have side effects from them versus if I was on some of the oral medications. I'm also on way too many oral medications to need or to substitute an injection for one now. I'm just kind of done. So yeah, Levemir, NovaRapid, they're fine. I'm on Tecta, so I started on Tecta when I was in the hospital. It combined with the prednisone, it got rid of the nausea within 24 hours. I still take it as kind of a stomach protector with the prednisone, because prednisone makes my stomach hate myself. So Tecta's fine. I haven't had any side effects from it. It's fine on my digestive system. It helps a lot. I especially started getting like weird. I thought I was having a heart attack. Turns out it was heartburn. I'd never had heartburn before, so that was a great new experience. So Tecta helps with that as well. Have to be really careful not to take not to take prednisone on an empty stomach. If I do, the Tecta kind of helps the severe, sharp stabbing pain that I get from that. And I also have to be careful because I take naproxen for headaches. and digestive issues since I'm allergic to acetaminophen, and ibuprofen does nothing. I have to be careful because it's also hard on your stomach. So if I take prednisone and naproxen near each other, it usually ends up with me being in a lot of pain. So yeah, Tectogreat. What else? So Ativan. I take it occasionally for anxiety, usually related to like really hard palpitations. I have just a couple pills. I take it maybe once a month. It's sedation. I take it when I get MRIs. It takes like 10 milligrams to get me into an MRI. You kind of, at 1 milligram, I've never like forgotten anything. At 10 milligrams, I kind of only have like snapshots of what's happened while I've been on it. Don't drive on Ativan. What else? So hydromorphone, I hate it so much. They gave it to me. I was having right upper quadrant pain. They gave it to me to take as needed. I really hate taking it. I have to be in a lot of pain. It makes me dizzy and probably what people assume is stoned. Not a huge fan of that feeling. Probably why hydromorphone is a little bit hard to get. I think because I hate it so much, doctors aren't overly concerned about giving it to me. I've taken 2 this month. No, I took 3 this month. I had to go to the ER, and I took 2 because I really didn't want to go to the ER, but they didn't work enough, and I had to go by ambulance. I'm on new medication. I just started them last week. They are I'm on a beta blocker. I'm going to try and find it. So, atenolol. Atenolol? Oh, I know, that stuff. It's a beta blocker. So, I was just recently possibly diagnosed, they have to do an antibody test, Graves' disease, autoimmune disease. It's an autoimmune disease that causes hyperthyroidism, which might account for the fact why I've lost 75 pounds since December, which I guess is good. Less good because I've lost it because I'm sick. But I could use to lose it, so hopefully it won't come back. It was probably in combination with like exercising and throwing up a lot, but from nausea and being sick. So beta blocker, I have tachycardia from the hyperthyroidism. It's supposed to help bring that down and like stabilize my blood pressure. The blood pressure used to be 110/70. It's kind of all over the place in the past couple weeks. So hopefully it's going to help with that. It's kind of just like a beta blocker, calm your body type thing. The new medication that I'm on, that they kind of instilled fear into me when I went on, is for hyperthyroidism. Tapazole. So, Tapazole. I take 3 tablets, so 15 milligrams a day. They don't want me on it for more than 3 weeks because they're kind of afraid that I'm going to have the same reaction that I had to the carbamazepine. I don't think they're wrong. It's been really shitty, so it makes me really nauseated. I take Gravel with it, and it doesn't really help. I think it helps a bit, but I still end up throwing up, and I'm dizzy, and I just feel gross. Maybe not even gross. I'm not sure. I described this to some people and they get it and some people don't get it. But this feeling of being cold inside, like you can be laying out in the sun in the warmness, but it's like I don't want to say soul, like your bones or your blood are just ice. And it's just this feeling of unease and grossness. So it gives me that too. Take it once a day. I take 15 milligrams once a day. I try to take it before I go to bed. Sometimes it works and I go to sleep and just wake up kind of but sometimes it makes me up all night, which is really crappy. And I think other than Gravel, Americans, you call it Dramamine, so it's anti-nausea, motion sickness thing. I did get Meclizine when I was in the United States. We used to call it Bonamine in Canada. We haven't sold it in, gosh, years. I think it's also called Bonine in the States. But then the endocrinologist told me I can't take it because it's anti-cholerogenic, and yeah, I have too many issues. So yeah, OTC stuff that I take is just Gravel and naproxen. They're fine. Like I said before, I have to be careful with the naproxen. I've never had any issues with Gravel other than it not working. I used to take it for migraines because it would knock me out. I think I've taken too much of it in the past couple months because it doesn't knock me out anymore. So aches and pains, also not really, well, it's not OTC. It's a natural thing. I bought it in Ontario. The left and right confuses me. It's a Mohawk traditional salve. It actually really helps a lot. I shouldn't say actually, it really helps a lot. Maybe because, I think I say actually because I've been in so much pain that nothing has worked, and I didn't think anything would work. Like hydromorphone doesn't help half of the time. So it's kind of great that this does. It's just olive oil, shea butter, beeswax, eucalyptus, peppermint, spearmint, and ginger oils. It smells really nice too, but it's very helpful with pain, especially pain that I get my neck and shoulders and back. I'm gonna get my partner to rub some on my back when I get home. So I think that's it. I've been on other medications before. I kind of hate being on meds. I like the ones that help, but I had 4 years where all I took was occasionally I would take Gravel or naproxen, and then vitamin D. And I've gone from barely anything to 8 prescriptions. I guess 10 with my injections. So 10 prescriptions and then OTCs. And it kind of sucks. And it sucks that maybe not half of them, but like I take Gravel because of side effects of the other ones. I hate the whole idea of treating side effects of medications with more medications. I think my body just needs a break. But you can't just come off prednisone because you can die. And I have to be really careful with the hyperthyroid stuff. I'm supposed to go for radioactive iodine. If that works, then I can come off of it. I think they have to pull me off of it anyway, because after 4 weeks it can kill me. Yay! Not everybody. Like, people can go on it for 16 to 18 months with no issues. It's just that my body hates everything. I'm allergic to, I think, 9 now different medications. So penicillin, Bioxin, caffeine, acetaminophen. I have issues with codeine, Zofran, and Celexa. Oh yeah, I was on Celexa. Zofran and Celexa now cause serotonin syndrome, even if I take them by themselves, because I was on them together and got serotonin syndrome. So my body just naturally has that reaction now. Acetaminophen, codeine. I'm sure I forgot others. When I write them down on the list for the doctor, I get them all. Yeah, so I was on Celexa. Loved it. So I've been on it twice. I was on it for about 6 months the first time. It was amazing. I was having a lot of trouble with, I kind of took it more for anxiety, but then I realized kind of how much, maybe depression, but like fear of the future and anxiety about the future just had weight on me. I started it about the time I had my really bad relapse. I was nauseated, for maybe a month. Not really bad. Like, I still went to school. I still could go to work. I might be a little off because we had, I think, 14 snow days that semester. So maybe I just wasn't going to school as much as I thought. All my classes seemed to be when we had snow days. All the snow days seemed to be when I had classes. Yeah, so Celexa was great. I had to go off of it when I had the DRESS syndrome. I went back on it a couple months ago. And after about 2 months of being on it and having severe nausea and a whole bunch of other symptoms, I got taken off of it because side effects are supposed to resolve themselves by that time. And then talking to a pharmacist, they said that the things that I had sounded like serotonin syndrome to them, and then palpitations and everything. And that made sense because when I was on Celexa and Zofran, I had what appeared to be heart problems. I was in the hospital. They had to do EEGs every day. Then they realized it was the 2 medications, took me off both of them, and then that got better. So, yeah, my body loves to just develop allergies, mostly to medications. I am allergic to a lot of foods too. Chocolate and coffee are the ones that people seem to be kind of the most upset for me about. But I deal with it. So yeah, if you have any questions about any of the medications, talk to your doctor or pharmacist. If you want to know sorry, more about my experiences, feel free to comment and I'll answer them.